Rack and returns to the writer's ring. Slice cuts his way into the top three for the second time in a row. Can he pull off the victory? Will my parents ever believe I have a real job? These questions can only be answered by watching the Clash of the Pencils live stream.
Turn on the stream tonight, short stories in the spotlight. Writers bring their best to light. The Story Central time. Breaking down the plots, characters that fought, twists that hit the spot. It's all here live tonight. Are you ready for some stories in a live stream glory? It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear. Catch the suspense unfold. Feel the tales being told. Critiques fair and bold. The truth will soon be known. Dollars from far and wide. Mysteries you can't hide. Every twist takes the story right. By these rules we abide. Are you ready for some stories in a live stream glory? It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear.
All right. Writers have no fear indeed. Speaking of fearless, I am always joined by my co hosts, Greg the Egg Peterson. How do you do today, my good sir?
Greetings, Tom. A lot of good stories in the hopper here to go through today. What do we got on tap?
That is a fact. I believe we got in 7 entries. So we've got the top 3 out of 7. Really exciting stuff. And the prompt to remind the folks at home was you're walking down the boardwalk when suddenly something emerges from the sea. So we've got a decent setting in there, but it's really a plot heavy sort of prompt this morning for the writers to.
Yeah, I think these prompts always give you one dimension, right? They kind of like they lock in one and then your imagination has to fill in the other. Today I want to know what is going to happen at that moment. The big reveal, what's the aftermath? That's
Right.
I think what's going to determine who wins today.
It could be anything. It could be a monster, a machine, a person. I mean, nobody knows.
A skyscraper?
Could be a skyscraper. Skyscraper out of the ocean. That would be very, very unexpected. So let's just jump right into it, right? And let's see. We've got 3. Our top 3 was Slice, Racontus back in the ring, who was one of our writers back in the day when we were going, and then Red 19. Interesting thing about Red 19 is there was Green 18 back in 2022, who we pinpointed to be Devontae Adams on the Green Bay Packers. And Red 19, I have a feeling that's Joey Votto from the Cincinnati Reds, longtime first baseman.
Cincinnati Reds. Wow, that is quite a leap. That is the imaginative leap of the day.
It is interesting to see Clash of the Pencils taking hold across multiple leagues, across multiple time frames. Anyways,
that logical.
it always does here in Story Squad land. All right, so let's get to our first writer. We're gonna do Slice because Slice he's back. He's defending. He didn't win yesterday, but he is back in the top 3. So defending his spot in the top 3 with this story about what he saw when something emerged from the sea.
Laundry. You'll never guess what happened at the boardwalk. It's only the first day of school, Nostril. I'm not ready for a crazy story, Laundry said. It's not crazy, Nostril said. Ask Pawn. She was there. We were walking down the boardwalk. I just won the chili dog eating contest. Ask Pawn, she'll tell you. I made the guy Podium, the one with the blue hair, cry. I guess he was expecting I throttle myself. Not this Nostril. So yeah, a belly full of dogs and chili. I just wanted a chill day by the water. But you know Poseidon won't let me be. To be honest, Apollo still hasn't left me alone after I helped him vanquish those Zumba lizards in June. Talk about satisfying. But I didn't realize he'd need so much advice on what to feed them. Avocado toast, what else? I said. Anyway, I was saying something hilarious to Pawn. Ask her, she'll tell you. Then out of the ocean walked a woman dressed in a seaweed-coloured frog suit. She saw Pawn and me and removed her helmet. Underneath was a leather flight cap and retro oversized goggles. She took off the wetsuit, revealing a brown blouse and tan breeches. She flopped off the huge flippers on her feet, leaving a pristine pair of cognac-coloured jodhpur boots. She told us her name was Amelia, and she was a pilot. She said she was flying around the world when she got distracted by an eagle and veered off course. She had to land on what appeared to be a deserted island, but it wasn't deserted. A tribe of round people with carrot-shaped noses lived there. She agreed when I asked if they kinda looked like snowmen. Ask Pawn. These snow people, only it was really hot, these globe people showed her how to live forever. At least extend her living. She wasn't surprised when we told her it was 2024. She said she'd learned so much about life. She built a sea suit that enabled her to swim like a whale. She wanted to jot down all the information to save humanity. She asked for the nearest typewriter. She was obviously crazy.
Okay, so a child named Laundry tells another one named Nostril about an adventure with their third friend Pawn, who they inadvertently cross paths with Amelia Earhart, who emerges from the sea wearing an old-timey scuba suit, claiming to have communed with an ancient tropical snowman tribe following her disappearance, who endowed her with some sort of life-extending knowledge, where she learned great secrets, traveling the underseas, and now needs to pass on these secrets to humanity if she can only find a typewriter.
There's a lot going on there, Tom.
Yeah, there sure is. There sure is.
I would say the thing that struck me right away was the first admission of I'm not ready for a story. It's the first day of school, and I'm wondering. I wasn't ready for all of that world building.
Yeah.
There was some interesting sort of back in time versus future time, and was the past more advanced than we currently are? There's references to Poseidon and Apollo, as well as this snowman tribe, a tropical snowman tribe, which frankly, if I was picking any part of the story, I'd pinch and zoom in there. Give me more of that. Give me that more of that world building. There was an intertextual connection to the Zumba cult lizards from last time. So that was a nice call out. No, that's sort of an authenticator that this was written in the last 24 hours.
Right.
Yeah. What did you make of it?
Well, yeah, it was an interesting story. I enjoyed the it kind of started slow. The build up, you're like, what's going on here? I thought it was very interesting that Laundry was obsessed with having them check with the other friend check with Pawn, to say, hey,
Pawn? We're waiting
Right.
for Pawn. It's like waiting for Godot.
Yeah.
Pawn's not coming into the
That's
story.
right. Pawn's not. Well, I think that's sort of the thing is it seems like Pawn might be, I mean, not Pawn, but Laundry might be a bit of a liar. So it's like, hey, you got to check with Pawn. And it's like, I don't know. How many times do I have to, fact check your stories about what's going on before I believe Amelia Earhart came out of the ocean? Yeah,
There was an interesting overlay of these totally surreal names, right? We've got Podium, Nostril, Laundry, Pawn. Then we've got Poseidon and Apollo with their mythological, and then almost like historical figures, which are kind of a myth in of themselves. Amelia Earhart. It felt to me like, go with me here.
Okay.
It felt to me kind of like what it feels like to read an internet feed. It's some sort of kaleidoscopic, just grabbing all these different elements together. And the world building forced so many inferences on the reader in terms of how these things could possibly go together. And this was in one page.
Yeah.
So I was a little.
I would say what you know what I mean. Who were the characters? What is the setting? What is the plot? With so much in there,
Mm.
what actually are we looking at here? You know, I think the meat of the story, the real plot was Amelia Earhart, but we get to it halfway through, and it's kind of a lot is sort of left up to, is she even a Amelia Earhart? Maybe she's a crazy, maybe she is a crazy lady that just came out of the ocean
I
and says,
think the
I'm Amelia
craziness was
Earhart. You know,
I think the craziness was the fact that she reached for a typewriter and not an
not a
iPhone.
computer.
But
Right.
yet she
Right.
was not surprised that it was 2024.
Okay.
Um, there was some time out of joint here in
Yeah.
this story.
Something's up with this story. We'll see if the other writers have a response to it. What do you think about this triangle for Slice here of just the sort of outside touching all the character? You know, it was a or you know,
Yeah, it's hard to isolate any one of these things. There were interesting elements. I think this, as always, there's the sentences. There's an extra dimension if we had sentences, and maybe that'll make an appearance in top 5 sentences of the day.
yeah,
Which, a belly full of dogs and chili on the boardwalk.
right.
That put me into the
Something's
mood
going
right
on there,
there.
right?
But in terms of an actual story, I agree with you. I think we're getting there, but I think focusing on each of the individual elements and getting into the plot faster would serve this author well.
Yeah, a lot left to be desired. Slice still sharpening their skills from 2 years off, frankly.
We're in preseason mode. We should be doing 2 a days, Tom. We should be doing 2 contests a day.
It's maybe 3 days. I don't
Maybe
know if that's legal, but we could check with some of our states. Okay, our next author, also returning to the writer's ring from a few years off, Raconteuse. And let's see, I believe this was titled Souvenir Shop.
A shadow quickly fell, as if a skyscraper blotted out the sun. In the distance, I heard a menacing roar. Hot dogs were abandoned as hundreds of hungry vacationers walking the boards made tracks for the safety of the hot concrete pavements. They were followed by their sandy, sunscreen brethren from the beach. The Ferris wheel, ever spinning, gave those unlucky riders a bird's-eye view of the chaos below, while its operator sought shelter in a nearby T-shirt shop. I hopped up on a bench to get a better view. I waited there until the beachgoers dwindled, mums hurrying their flip-flop charges along, while dads wrestled with umbrellas and coolers. Funny to watch people run away, I thought as my ice cream cone dripped. I guess no one can afford to leave behind a $400 cooler. I evened out my cone with a lick and further contemplated beachside overconsumption. I knew I had time for such musing. I hopped off the bench, swung my bag over my shoulder, and skipped down the steps to the hot sand. It was a bit of a walk to the water, plenty of time to finish my ice cream. It was cooler in the shadow of the sea creature. I held out my hands, palms upturned to show that I was unarmed. The creature sighed in acknowledgement. He looked back toward the open water and past me down to the boardwalk shops. The surf washed over our feet and tickled our toes. We had both been waiting for this moment for a long time. Every year in August I would look for him. Here he was, the souvenir shop hermit crab I set free 40 years ago. Guess it is true that they don't stop growing as long as they can find a shell. In this case, the shell was a retired aircraft carrier that had been sunk to create an artificial reef. Too bad for the reef, but this crab had a home. I dug into my bag for some Twizzlers, standard hermit crab fare back in the day. I was glad he hadn't lost his taste for it. We stood on the wet sand catching up over beach snacks. When they were gone, we parted ways. Me back to the boardwalk, him back to the sea. Maybe we'll meet up again someday. I'll be back in August with a pack of Twizzlers in my beach bag.
And then actually Storyflix hallucinates for another minute and a half.
Wow.
Fun fact. But terror befalls a beachside setting with bystanders dropping their less expensive items to scatter while the narrator calmly walks toward the sea creature rising from the depths. A 40-year-old hermit crab, once purchased at the very beach they're now at and released by the narrator years ago, has grown so large it's overtaken an aircraft carrier as its shell. The pair reminisce over beach snacks before parting ways, the narrator looking forward to another time they might meet again.
Thematically, I was really interested in the scale here. The size of the hermit crab the fact that the hermit crab by its name is going to stay alone most of the time, but then it's just going to grow exponentially without really any upper bound. Um, I feel like that's metaphorically somehow talking about the beachside overconsumption or some sort of way in which we've changed in the intervening 40 years. Echoing back to the previous story here about this sort of taking stock of where things are as opposed to how they used to be. Um, I thought that there there were some great sentences here that built the world really early on. Sandy's sunscreen brethren, the lyrical sound of that got me into there. I evened out my cone with a lick. I thought that was a really good way to put the object kind of in my hand in my imagination. And then the plot really started for me when the character starts having time for musing amid this sort of horrible sea creature. And while everyone else is scattering. And that's when I first thought, okay, what's going on here and how is this? And then we get the backstory. It kind of propels us into the end game.
Right, right. So yeah, that was a tight story all around as far as developing those characters, setting and plot. I thought for sure, and um, yeah, I thought was interesting that overconsumption theme that you mentioned because the the hermit crab itself is a byproduct of that very same overconsumption, right? Of 40 years ago, deciding to buy a souvenir hermit crab for presumably a young child, and then what do you do? What do you do with a hermit crab? I don't know. Throw it back in the sea and wait
Well,
for it
the
to.
overconsumption was of Twizzlers. It's got a ridiculous Twizzler habit, if
Right.
that's
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's that's a good point. And I also thought there was this interesting sort of impact of litter, both live and dead, on the ecosystem. Where first this hermit crab was littered 40 years ago, and now it's coming back as this massive thing. But it's also living in a massive piece of litter that the aircraft carrier that's been scuttled to create an artificial reef. and
mm, mm.
and one of those things of is this a byproduct that we hadn't unforeseen byproduct of a hermit crab taking over one of these aircraft carriers, and then all of a sudden we have like a Godzilla type situation on our hands.
But it's such a chit chat. It's such a friendly, like
Right.
I would have wanted
Yeah.
some of that. Like, what do they talk about when they catch up? Give me like that give me the Seinfeld about nothing bits of
Right.
dialogue there. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
what does one talk to their 40-year-old hermit crab about? It's so much time has passed.
Yeah. I have one other comment on this one.
Okay.
Am I living under a rock? Like
Maybe.
call me crazy. Like a hermit. Am I a hermit
Am I
right
a
here?
hermit right now?
Are there such things as $400 coolers? Am I just
Yeah,
not
right.
am I buying cheap styrofoam coolers and not knowing there's a luxury alternative? Like, what's going on?
Are people laughing at me at the beach? You
Yeah.
know, I don't know. I guess that's a fair point. I could imagine it. If there's a will, there's a way.
It does
So
make sense that that exists, but I just had never thought of that price point and that item before.
right,
That's
right,
the true terror. It wasn't the sea creature, it was the $400 cooler.
right. Yeah, and to some degree, that overconsumption again, that
There you
exactly
go.
was the terror emerging from the sea, back from whence it came. So a strong opening salvo from Racontus. And I guess there's only one more thing we can do, which is check out our third story of the night. And that's coming from Joey Votto himself, Red 19. Red 19.
One hot, humid August day, the kind where you feel as if you're existing inside a boiling tea kettle and about to blow steam out your mouth, nose, and ears, I happened to be walking down the boardwalk near my seaside home. Brave beachgoers were seeking shelter from the swelter under their large umbrellas, stuck precariously in the sand, threatening to turn into flying torpedoes in the next gale force wind gust. Children were frolicking in the surf and sand, trying to take every last minute of summer remaining before heading back to the daily grind of classes, books, tests, and story writing. After questioning my wisdom of taking my daily beach walk during the hottest time of day, on the hottest day of the year, I took refuge on a bench, shaded by a nearby building, and tried to catch my breath. Out of nowhere, a large, menacing figure appeared in the water just beyond the splashing children, rising up out of the sea and moving toward the shore. I could not believe my eyes. What was this horrible creature? Was I having a heat stroke overcome by the scorching sun? I watched as the creature rode the waves toward the shore, heading right for a group of children playing with a beach ball. I could barely stand to watch, and then I heard screams as the children raced out of the water, trying to avoid the approaching monster. All of a sudden, there was a great shake, and screams turned to laughter. Seaweed went flying, and a tennis ball plopped down on the sand. "Good boy, Sonny!" the children squealed.
All right. So a narrator walks down the boardwalk on a hot, sweltering day. Overcome by the oppressive heat, the narrator sits on a bench only to see some sort of terrifying. Did you hear any of that?
Yeah, we heard it. Keep going.
All right,
We're
fine.
good.
My
We're live,
microphone's
baby.
up.
We're live.
We're live, I know. Anyways, some sort of terrifying sea monster emerged from the depths, intent on attacking a pack of children, only for that sea monster to, in fact, be a dog playing fetch with the children.
Yeah, here I really noticed the punctuation marks. Those exclamation points were doing a lot of work. It was the images of a dwindling summer, sort of a scene. It was a small moment, which I actually liked. I think that fits the one-page format a little bit more. It was more contained into the form we were giving here.
Mm-hmm.
The story writing as part of the relentless slog of school.
Yeah,
feels like
kind of
that
a
was
burn.
bit
I mean,
autobiographical for the
whoa.
author, saying, "Why am I writing this story?"
It's kind of like, hey, guy, okay, I'll take it. I'll take our lumps, but but
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, a good little jab there.
Yeah.
I really thought that in terms of plot, this one, while it had the most stripped down world building compared to the other two, the middle and ending of the plot was so tight and coherent. There was a really, really good it happened in a couple of sentences, but we get the creature, the monster, it's up against this scene of children frolicking. We get the anxiety of the speaker seeing this thing, and then we get this great reversal with the great shake, the seaweed flying everywhere, and then we reveal the kids. What was it? The kids. Let me get the actual thing. The kids. The great shake screams turned to laughter, and then "Good boy, Sonny." The kids cried, and so there was no threat all along. It was just a dog fetching a ball.
Yeah, that was a great turn of events because as I was reading it, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to read about these kids getting ripped to shreds. And
Right.
then
Right.
thankfully I was like,
I
oh,
don't
okay.
want story flicks hallucinating that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we don't need that on day 2.
no.
That's for sure. So yeah, strong plot. Good setting too. A nice solid setting. Like you said, it might not have had as intense of a world building as the other two, but it was right there with them. And then the character, you had the dog, you had the kids, you had the narrator themselves, and it was none necessarily had a deep depth, but yet they all played their part to create a good story. So again, just a solid story out of here from Red 19.
In terms of the Sussex County Dorito, there was it was whole. It hit all the marks as a whole thing. It came together.
Yeah. I do want to. One of my favorite sentences from this story was the seeking shelter from the swelter under their large umbrellas. That was a good one. And then turning the large umbrellas into torpedoes that are going to be fired during the next gale-forced wind gust. I mean, that was poetry in motion.
Right on.
I like that. And then interesting sort of military-industrial complex embedded in the beach-going vibes for 2 of our stories here, and potentially a third if you classify old-timey airplanes as part of that.
Yeah, all of them.
Could be a 3 for 3 on that one.
3 for 3 with a little Poseidon allusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so. Let's see. Good stuff from all of our top 3 this morning, and I guess nothing left to do except hit the button that reveals the winner. Because what you and I've done for the last 10, 15 minutes in this Sussex County s'more, dropping the marshmallows on a Dorito, it means nothing. It's 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 perfectly meaningless. All that matters is the votes of America and potentially the world. Yeah, let's see. What do? I go to this panel.
Very
and
curious to see who's going to win. 3 totally different journeys that we've been on today.
It really was a whirlwind of emotion and excitement. So I go to set the winner and I say, "Hey, clicking that button, the winner is chosen." Wow, Slice with his score of 75.86 gets the votes from the people. Congratulations to Slice for getting that top spot after a tough first loss.
He got the vote out.
Got the vote out. Yeah, exactly. Learn from the mistakes of the previous and got the vote out. So let's see. Here we go. I've got one more thing for us, and you know what that is. It's our favorite. Well, actually, before we do the favorite time of the night, let me go through this real quick. Let's just run through how to play Clash of the Pencils. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to reveal the next prompt in the next few minutes, and then you're going to spend from then until 4:30 Eastern time writing a story of your choosing. Just make sure it's handwritten, and then you take a photo, upload it through the app, and then you're playing Clash of the Pencils. It's that easy. Can you believe it, Greg?
That is easy. It's old school meets new school. Here we go. Get those hand muscles ready.
Hand muscles engaged indeed. And so let's see here for let me see. Sorry, I am just pulling up our top 5 sentences of the night, of the day rather, I guess, which is always one of the best things we can do here. So at number 5, we have Slice. To be honest, Apollo still hasn't left me alone after I helped him vanquish those Zumba lizards in June. Talk about satisfying. I didn't realize he needs so much advice on what to feed them. Avocado toast. What else? I said. Easy enough. Number 4, Racontus. Here he was, the souvenir shop hermit crab I set free 40 years ago. Guess it's true they don't stop growing as long as they can find a shell. In this case, the shell was a retired aircraft carrier that had been sunk to create an artificial reef. Number 3, beachgoers were seeking shelter from the swelter under their large umbrellas, stuck precariously in the sand, threatening to turn flying torpedoes in the next gale force wind. Number 2, from Nacho Story. Red sirens blared along industrial catwalks as men in orange vests cranked levers, spun wheels, fiddled with those hoses on the structure. A miso silo opened up on the 4 corners of the platform as a recording played on loop. DEFCON 0, Operation Last Stand initiated. This is not a drill.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
Never know what's going on with that one. Or this one from Zaphod. Suddenly, a ghostly ship emerged from the mist, its tattered sails blowing in the late August breeze. Goodness. Number 1 sentence of the night there, folks. And yeah. All right. So what do we do now? We will reveal the next prompt, I guess.
Yeah. Where are we going?
Let's see. Where are we going? I wrote it down right here. An animal has to assemble a crew to plan a bank heist.
Wow.
That is our next prompt for today. An animal has to assemble a crew to plan a bank heist. So we've got a character, which is an animal, obviously. But who are they? What are they? Why are they robbing a bank? What is going on here? You know, where do you think this could go?
I don't know, but the less literal, the more interpret that. There's a clever spin on it, I feel. What's the nature of the bank, and how are these animals assembling? What's the crew? What's the way to find a crew?
Yeah, how does an animal assemble a crew to find a bank to plan a bank heist? Only one way to find out, and that will be to read our top 3 stories tonight. So again, we'll release the prompt now. You have until 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 Central to write your story. take a snapshot of it, upload it, and then from 5 p.m. until 9:30 a.m. is the Eastern time is the vote. So get the vote out and then watch the live stream. Do it all over again.
Don't get captured, kids.
Don't get captured. I love that. All right, until next time. This was Clash of the Pencils live stream.
Turn on the stream tonight. Short stories in the spotlight. Writers bring their best to light. The Story Central time. Breaking down the plot. Characters that fought. Twist that hit the spot. It's all here live tonight. Are you ready for some stories? In a live stream glory. It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear. Catch the suspense unfold. Feel the tales being told. Critiques fair and bold. The truth will soon be known. Jawless from far and wide. Mysteries you can't hide. Every twist takes the story right. By these rules we abide. Are you ready for some stories?